Hi, Alive Parents. It's Angela Lamb here, Next Gen at New Life. And this is hopefully going to begin a new tradition of communication because one of the things that I have realized, for those of you that don't have backstory, I have been New Life's executive pastor and I'm still doing some of that role. And I'm transitioning into our Next Gen approach, which is how we will partner with families and support the students from 0 through 18. And this last season has been something as I'm doing what we had been paying three different people to do, and it has been a lot. One of the things that has fallen through the cracks is all the good intentions of communication. So this video is hopefully the beginning of a conversation as opposed to the end, as I would like to start regularly communicating with you as parents directly about what we will be doing for teens, with teens, behind teens, supporting teens, and you in the coming months. So I'm sorry, I have to start with that. I'm sorry that in the process of trying to maintain Alive and then trying to build Young Life, which are two different approaches to how teens will be supported, that your communication has dropped off. We had a parent meeting a few months ago, but it's been silent since then. I'm sorry, that's my bad. So this is an update, a long overdue update that I will try to keep as brief as I can, but this is also a new part of how we will stay in touch and how you can be comforted, excited, participating in what we are doing to support your families. So today I am a mixed bag of emotions. I have some regret about not being in better communication with you, and I'm hoping this is the beginning of confession and then forgiveness. I have boatloads of excitement, and then I have some sadness too, because with the launching of this Young Life approach, this model, also comes the end of an era of Alive. So today I want to talk about where we are in that process. We've been working on this for over a year. We were in these dialogues, actually even before Jake left, which was last October. We were in the dialogues about something is not working. The fact that Jake was a full-time employee and putting massive effort towards youth ministry here in Petaluma, our group never got above 25 to 30 kids, and that is not the size of our dreams. We love your 25 to 30 kids dearly, but they deserve a youth group that is well-rounded and has critical mass of students and is socially appropriate, and a youth group that they can bring their friends to. And even with good programming at those events, if they show up and it is socially awkward, or they show up and they can't bring their friends to it because it's socially awkward, because it doesn't have the critical mass that it needs, then they can't bring their friends either. So as it is part of our love of your 25 to 30 students that we needed to be asking some very difficult questions, because our loyalty is to supporting teens. So the teens that God has already brought to our church deserve discipleship and partnership and to be seen and known and loved. And they deserve to be part of a movement that is reaching their friends in our community who don't have that opportunity to feel seen, known, and loved, and to meet the Jesus that makes us want to do that. So we've been asking these tough questions for a year. About 8 months ago, we had decided, okay, Young Life is the model that we see making a difference, that we think would work with our Petaluma culture, that provides this more well-rounded approach than what we were seeing in traditional youth groups. And so since that time, it's been a process of how do we partner with this organization who doesn't usually partner with churches. What they usually do is come into a city, gather like-minded people who care about the teens of their city, and launch. They've never had a strategic partner quite like New Life. So we had a couple of months several months trying to figure that part out. Once we got that part settled and it was time to go, we have spent the last bunch of months, I think in April, we hosted our first info night for people to come hear what Young Life was about and to express interest in being involved. So since April, we have been forming a board, and I gotta tell you, oh my gosh, it's so fun. So I can't go into great detail there because you will end up bored with the amount of stuff I need to say. But putting a board together, what that means is right now we have a team of 5 or 6 different adults who love students and who want to partner with students, and we are trying to meet their needs. But you know how many times we've had to cancel Alive. It's not sustainable in our system. So Young Life, part of their model is that you have a team of leaders who are adults that do work with students, directly with students, but you have a whole other team to do all of the behind the scenes. So it's fundraising, it's donor care, it is the social media aspects, it is the leadership development, leadership appreciation, a treasurer to keep track of the donations and the budget and all that kind of stuff. So there is a team right now of about 25 people who have come together to do those various jobs. And watching them begin to figure out how to do those jobs and to work together and to cover all of the things that are needed to have this thing be sustainable in the long haul, it was like, well, no wonder this little team of Alive hasn't been able to pull that off. This is a huge team, it's about 25 people, and none of them are working directly with students. All of them are doing the behind the scenes work. And then over here, God is developing a team of people that love students and want to work with students. So that's super exciting to me that that is clicking along. I think we have had 3 board meetings where we know our job descriptions, we know which part of the team we're on, we're working under a team leader, and we're actually starting to get traction and get to know how we will work together to make this happen. So that part of Young Life is clicking along beautifully. Last night we had another leaders meeting for the people that would be working with students, and that part is beginning to gain traction as well. So Young Life is actually going. I had said to you back in the day that we thought maybe we would be able to launch the club portion, that's the weekly gathering portion of Young Life, in January, and we do. We look on target for that, which is super fun. I will post a different video down in the comments to explain the 5 key elements for those of you that weren't at the parent night or haven't been in conversation with me in the last few months. The 5 key elements of what defines a young life, how that is the well-rounded approach to reaching teens. I'll put that somewhere else, but I will say that this fall, even before January hits, we're actually going to be able to dabble in 3 of the 5. Actually, if you consider the committee or the board, that's one of the 5, one of them that doesn't do any work with youth, but it actually supports the youth structure. We're actually 4 of the 5 of them are dabbled at this fall. So it's time to start talking. We have known from the beginning that Alive would have to close down in order for Young Life to launch. That was, we were going to close this down. We were praying that God would allow Alive to sustain, even though we couldn't recruit more people to that team because it was going away, that God would be able to sustain that thing until Young Life was ready to go. And that time is now. That time to begin to say goodbye to Alive in order to say hello to Young Life. I've been praying about this for months because we want to do this in a way that honors what Alive has been to us, but also is emotionally intelligent as we step into a new thing. So actually, I am excited that this fall we will say goodbye to Alive, and there will be a time where we won't have weekly Young Life meetings yet. And I'm actually glad about that. I wish for relational sake that we were just constantly getting together with the students because they love that, we love that. But the truth is, they need a chance to actually reboot between the two so that we don't carry with us. This was a different approach. This is a different approach. And there are some things that are similar, and maybe they look enough alike to make it feel like a constant comparison. Like, that's not what we used to do. That's not what we used to do on purpose. We want to do something different. So I think it's very healthy for us to have a time where the weekly meetings of Alive or the weekly rhythm of Alive, even if we couldn't meet every week, goes away. And this fall, we participate in some different things in order to, once the weekly club starts up for our Young Life approach, we have completely rebooted and we're ready for something new and fresh. So that is where we're at. Let's talk a little bit. Let's just pause. I imagine you're having some feelings as I have had some feelings, which is a mixture of my love for the kids, grieving, um, grieving the not sustainability of Alive. I think in my mind, in the ideal world, I hadn't put in my heart a space for the pause between the two because I don't want kids to flounder in that space. And even though I can see the wisdom of it now that we're here, um, I imagine, I mean, I love your kids a fraction of how you love your kids, and you see them a lot more than I do. So I'm sure you have the same emotion set that I do about this, excitement about the future, happy that we're asking the tough questions that will move our youth group into a healthier place than it has been. But there's got to be some concern on your part too. How will they weather this? How will this go? What if they don't like the new approach? What about if the kids that they like going to Alive with don't make the transition into Young Life? Let's just pause there for a second and say there's feelings in here. I've been praying about this for a long time. I am praying for you. I hope you're praying for me. That if, with regular communication, maybe that would you would know more how to pray for me. Uh, this is exciting times. This is also scary times. Um, Transitions are just scary. Kids are resilient in some ways, but in other ways they cling to what they know. And the teenage land is a tumultuous land. So to be going through a transition like this, I don't love that. I don't love that. If there was a way to have your kids stop growing and I could just pause, and in that pause I could make this transition and then just wow the socks off of them with this new exciting thing that has a lot of potential to touch their lives in a way that we haven't seen traditional youth group doing it, dude, I would do it. I would do it. I can't tell you the number of times I have had to say to God, I hope you know what you're doing. I feel so much of my spirit resonate with this adjustment that we're making, but in the transition, my nerves they go. So I guess I would just like to open the door. One, I would like to resonate with whatever you're feeling. I probably have some fraction of that in my own journey on this. And two, I'd just like to open up the door for there's feelings here, and I would like to talk about them. So you know how to find me. I will also put my contact information in the comments. If you want to chat this through, hey, what are we doing about this? There's only so much detail I can go here. Um, Call me. Let's chat that through. Let's talk it through. I want to partner with your family. I know I spend more time with your kids than you, but I love you in light of your kids. So I want to partner with you. So with that pause about the importance of emotions and the partnership that we might share in that, let's move on to a couple of practical things that you might want to know. I wanted I want to do a goodbye night for Alive. Our hearts all deserve the opportunity to bring closure to something before it goes away. So I am working on the Alive leaders and I are working on a goodbye event on September 16th. That's a little over a week away, where the students have the opportunity. We're going to go to the Pool of Georges property. I'll post everything you need to know. We're going to go to the Pool of Georges property largely because they have a place to do a large fire pit. We're going to play games. We're going to have a blast together. Some of our favorites that we adore from Alive. We're going to play some games together. And we're going to sit around the campfire roasting marshmallows and talk about some of our favorite memories, people that we will, even 15 years from now, their face will come to mind when we think about Alive. We're going to process together this saying goodbye. And then I will begin using this Facebook page to actually point us to the information that will start coming out from Young Life about the events that we're going to do this fall. But let me just say, I'm super excited. That is a different team of people. There are some people from Alive that are going to move over here and work with students in our Young Life team, but then there are other people that God has brought. Young Life is not a New Life specific thing. It is actually a citywide thing, and God has brought leaders from all over the place, and I love them already. I've just only had about 3 months with them, but I love them. I love how they are going to love your students and how they are going to reach more students in Petaluma. So um, we will have some events this fall. There is talk of a 3-day retreat in November, which your students have been begging for. It's like a little miniature camp. So we have some fun things that we're going to be doing through Young Life this fall, even before the weekly club kicks off. I think that's the gist. This is just the beginning of the conversation. So I will be coming back with a video on the 5 key elements that make up Young Life so that you have those details. And then more regularly, I will be posting updates so you know what to expect about the transition and about the philosophy, why we like this approach, why we think it holds really good potential for your family. And also still on this Alive page, I'll start pointing over whenever Young Life is promoting their events or things that your students could participate in. I will point you from here over there for a little while until we get very comfortable with getting our communication directly from that Young Life team. I think that is the gist of what you need to know today as far as the update goes, but you also have the comment section right underneath this video to ask your questions and go for it. I, I, I have never, even with my mixed emotions about how saying goodbye to Alive feels and how your students might process that, even with my mixed emotions, I have never been more excited about how New Life is partnering with families. And I will step up my communication so that you can actually feel that. But we have never in our previous history put this many resources, this much time, this much strategy, this much effort, this much personnel behind it. Never. And in the months to come, you will be hearing from me so that you can start to see what that looks like and feel the ways that this can be a boom. I think it might be boon to your family, a support system, and something that you can be excited about as well. All right. Thank you for your patience today. Thank you for your patience and the lack of communication. And let's keep the conversation going.